Unfortunately, we are not living in a Disney movie, because this is one of the examples that there has to be a group that starts to lead, and we have to get all of our noses into the same direction, because otherwise it's really not going to end very well. It's about 4 years ago. I was sitting on a festival eating a very nice coconut lentil curry with a really cute girl, and she actually gave me the idea to try out to not eat any meat for a month. I already had this idea in my mind because I had this book, and as you can see on the graph, it shows that eating meat, the icon with the cow, is about half of the impact compared to the things you own, but you can change it because there's a substitute. So I was really enjoying the lentil curry and I gave it a try. Now, almost 4 years later, I still don't eat meat. So the thing with meat, it all comes down to very simple efficiency. We get energy from the sun, plants turn it into plant, and the plants are eaten by humans or by animals. So just the most efficient thing you can do is basically just eat plants. But the second efficient thing you can do is eat insects, because out of 1 kilogram of grains we are getting 472 grams of grasshopper that we can eat. And out of 1 kilogram of grain we're only getting 40 grams of cow meat. So it's very inefficient, and cows are also producing many big methane cow farts, and methane per kilogram is also 23 times more harmful to the environment or to the ozone layer as CO2. So we don't really think about it, but it's mostly actually the cow farts that are harming our planet. And a few years later I also took the train instead of the plane to Japan because of the same graph I looked at, and I did the calculation, and it's complicated, but to make it easy to grasp, I did fly to Moscow and I did fly from Vladivostok to Tokyo, but in between there was almost 10,000 kilometers of train tracks, and everything together, compared to only taking the plane, it still saved half of the CO2. Now, during my train travel through Russia and Siberia, I was thinking a lot about the climate, and I came up with this term OCS, which is an acronym for Obsessive Compulsive Sustainability, because I noticed that I was really a bit obsessed about having as little impact as possible. But this trip also changed my mind, because when I was in Russia, no one really thought about sustainability, and it kind of let me down, because I realized that in the Netherlands I'm really living in this green bubble and we're all trying to be good for the climate. And I saw all these people and I started to kind of question, like, okay, why am I sacrificing my comfort and joy for sustainability? So that kind of cured my obsessive compulsive sustainability. But what stuck with me is that as long as there's an alternative that is just as good or almost as good or just as fun, because taking the train through Russia is a lot of fun, at least back in 2019. And there's also a bigger question, like, who is actually responsible? Like, are we just going to sit around and wait for the government to say we're going to put really high taxes on all of the meat? Or are we as consumers going to say, like, okay, well, we're not gonna eat any meat anymore? And I think, as always, it just has to come from both sides. So don't feel massive guilt for eating meat, but also don't expect that you can just lay back and wait for the government to tell you what to do, because you can have an impact, especially when you can inspire some friends or family to reduce their meat consumption at least. Like, you don't have to go all black and white, but just like a little bit. That could definitely have an impact. And I know that at times it can really feel like you're helpless if you want to actually have a positive impact on the climate, and you see everyone else just not making any effort, so you start to wonder, why the hell am I just like putting in all this effort? But you know, sometimes you just have to be stubborn and persistent, because this is one of the examples that there has to be a group that starts to lead, and we have to get all of our noses into the same direction, because otherwise it's really not going to end very well. Unfortunately, we are not living in a Disney movie. So yeah, I will see you in the next video.